welcome back to another episode of Coffee and a Good Vibe. How are we all doing today? I hope you guys are having a great day because we are over here and I'm sitting with someone very special who I'm sure so many of you know, and if you don't know, you will know after this episode. Mari Llewellyn.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's so incredible how like the universe aligns you with people. And I know we're gonna go in your whole background with how you got to LA, but guys, I used to always see Mari at the gym.
I saw you too.
At Gold's, and then we ended up eventually like connecting through feet.
Yeah.
And she's incredible. You guys are gonna die when you hear and like look at her brand, and we're gonna dive into it all because she is not just an amazing wellness fitness influencer, but you are a killer entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So let's begin with your background. Like, who are you? Where did you come from? What are you doing in the world today?
Yeah.
Give it to us. We'll dive into the nitty gritty, but just give us the overview.
So, okay, I'll go all the way back. I was born in London, lived in London for a year, and then moved to Switzerland for 3 years. I don't remember Switzerland. I was too young. I wish I did because Switzerland's amazing. And then back to the UK until I was 10, and then I moved to New York. So I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad works for the United Nations, so a lot of moving around, moving house. So I grew up mostly in New York, just outside the city, in a place called Scarsdale, New York. I definitely didn't really fit in. It was a very wealthy Jewish town, and my family was not wealthy or Jewish. So it was tough. Like, I didn't make friends right away. It took me a while to fit in. And I think for a long time, I was just like figuring out who I was. I would say even through college, I was trying to figure out who I was. I had the best time of my life in college, but at the same time, the worst. It was a very interesting time for me where I was experimenting with alcohol, and it was the first time I'd really like, gone out a bunch, and I was really struggling with my mental health. And it was during this time that I kind of hit this really dark place in my life because I was using alcohol to deal with pain, and I had a lot of mental issues that I didn't know how to deal with in a healthy way. And ultimately I was diagnosed with BPD, which stands for borderline personality disorder, which is now known to be a trauma-related disorder. And I was put on a ton of medication, and it just like took my life down this whole crazy path. And ultimately I ended up finding fitness because I hit rock bottom and I needed help and lost complete control of my life. And fitness was how I basically discovered my full potential. And now I'm here and my life is very different.
It is so different. And
Yeah.
I think that is so incredible. First of all, like, I just want to honor you for your vulnerability. And I know you open up a lot about your journey. And I think it's so nice to hear because a lot of people just look at people and they don't know that their past and your past make you the person you are.
Yeah.
So even going into that time of your life, how did you even know where to go to get out of it? Or like,
Yeah.
but even before that, like the diagnosis, you said it was
BPD, which stands for borderline personality disorder. It's not like a well-known disorder, which is part of the reason I like to talk about it because I feel like no one else does,
How did you know, like what made you go the mile to be like, okay, what am I dealing with? Is it normal? Because sometimes when we're going through something, we're like, oh, maybe this is normal. Maybe my life this is how I view life.
So I've been in therapy since I was 14. Initially, it was actually for an ADD diagnosis, which is interesting because I don't know how I feel I don't know if I have ADD. I really went into it because I was struggling in school, but ultimately I stayed in therapy because I had a lot of issues at home with my family. To be honest, I didn't think I even had an issue. I just thought that I was like an emotional person. But my therapist, who had been seeing me for years at that point, like the same therapist since I was 14, she said that I was reaching a lot of the criteria for BPD. And from there, I went to see a psychiatrist. I will say at the time, there was a lot of like self-harm happening, a lot of behavior that like should not be brushed under the rug. So I went to a psychiatrist, and that part's tricky because at the time I think medication was necessary because I was causing myself harm. But it was too much. Like I was put on a ton of medication, and disclaimer, I'm not a doctor and I'm not recommending anyone do the same thing. But the medication caused me to have like, I was completely checked out of reality at that point, and it led me down a really difficult path where I was gaining a ton of weight. I was really unhealthy. I was failing all my classes. That's why I ended up having to drop out of school and move back home. But yeah, I think it is important to like speak up about what you're going through, because you know
you can get help.
Totally.
Because people might be able to guide you in a right direction that will lead you down the path. And even going into the path that you chose, fitness.
Right.
Like what opened you up to even being like, I'm going to work on my health and wellness?
I know, right? So
what year was this for context?
So this was 2016, 2017.
Okay.
I was not into fitness at all. Like literally wouldn't walk into a gym. Like couldn't, like nothing. Like I was really uninterested in fitness and health.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend at the time, now husband Greg, has been into bodybuilding since like middle school age.
Yeah.
Like super passionate about bodybuilding, and I never understood it. Like we lived together and I would watch him make like his meals and meal prep and go to the gym twice a day. And I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, especially in college, it's like very unique, you know, because everyone's like drinking beer and eating hot dogs. Like no one cares about that stuff, but he did. And I always admired his discipline. I didn't understand it, but he never like, you know, he would talk to me about it, but he never pushed me to get into fitness. I feel like you have to kind of find it on your own. You know what I mean? Like you need to discover fitness by yourself. No one's ever going to convince you like to do it. So I moved back home. I was dropped out of school, no job, no goals, like really just rock bottom. And the one thing that I felt like I could take control of was my health. And to be honest, it was mostly for my mental health, because at this point I stopped taking all the medication. Again, I don't recommend doing that, but I did. And fitness was a way for me to feel like I was improving my mental health. And I didn't really know where it was going to lead. I just felt like if I work really hard at this thing, something good will happen. And I didn't know what it would be. But now I'm here, and now it's kind of all making sense to me. I feel like that's how I found my purpose.
I love that. I love that also what you said about like how no one's going to force you. I think that's with everything in life.
Right.
Like you have to truly want it, want to
Yes.
do something. Like if you want to start a business, like no one can. I hear this, like someone's like, you know what's best for, it's like you're in a relationship and you're like, you know what's best for them, but then they have to want to do it, right?
Totally.
It's like even going to therapy, it's like the person has to want to do it too.
Yes.
What would you say, like when you entered, because you said you went in with no expectations, unless you're just like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
What would you say was like that point where something hit for you and you're like, oh, this is serving me so abundantly. I need to keep going.
I think, so nutrition was a huge piece of the puzzle for me, because my diet was really bad. It was a lot of like processed food, sugar, caffeine. And when you have a mood disorder like BPD, you want to be like stabilizing your
blood sugar.
Yes,
Totally.
exactly. Healthy fats. Adding sugar and caffeine, you're just making it worse for yourself because your energy is spiking up and down. So that was one thing that really helped initially. And I think it was the first time in my life that I was keeping my own promises every single day, like showing up for myself every single day. And I think my confidence was building in a way that it never had before. And
you're probably seeing results and you're like, I like these results too.
Exactly. I'm liking these results. And also my disorder was so bad at the time that I couldn't even go in a grocery store. Like I was getting triggered by everything. Every conversation, every interaction. So the goal for me was to become strong inside and out. And I felt like that was slowly happening and I was able to do more independently. And that felt really good as well.
What would your advice be to someone listening who's maybe looking to get started in their health, wellness, fitness journey? Where to begin? Because I think that right now we're in this stage where there's an abundance of information. Like,
Totally.
do keto, do circuits, girls, don't do weights. Weights make you, like, there's all this information. Like,
I know.
what would you say? Because I know back then too, you probably had Greg as like inspiration. You're like, I'm just gonna maybe follow a little bit what he's doing. But like,
Yes.
what would you say to someone listening on just taking that first step?
Yeah, I would say start small. For me, just like implementing small things every single day really added up. And again, you like build your confidence. So even if you just start going on long walks every day, like that's what I did with my dog initially. I didn't even go to the gym right away. I was just doing longer walks with her.
Love that.
Maybe switching out unhealthy drinks for like something a little bit healthier, like making small adjustments over time so you can set achievable goals for yourself and kind of like build that confidence. And then also, yeah, I feel like everyone has a different approach to fitness. For me, weights has always been really fun and I love how muscle looks. Like I'm obsessed. So for me, that kept me going. But if yoga is what lights your passion, then you should do that, or, you know, find something that really is enjoyable for you and try new things. I've been trying new things recently and I'm really glad that I'm doing that.
I see you at Barry's.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yes, I was never a class person. Like I was always a solo trainer.
That's like me. Yeah, I'm so introverted when I work out. It's my time.
Me too. I almost get to this weird like emotional place.
I was like, I cannot train with you. Do not ask me to work out.
Exactly. Because I'm fighting demons like as I'm working out. Like it's a very intense thing for me. But I'm doing this class now and it's fun. Like I'm in a community.
And like one day a week, because I know we're at Gold's all the time.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice to change it up.
Totally.
And I love that you said like, it's totally about finding what works for you. Because I also think everybody's different. And, you know, for me, and I feel like yourself too, it's like we weightlift as our preferred way of working out.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get big. Like, and I also know like everybody's different, but I would love to hear, this is going to be like your personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to like almost talk to, because I talk to women about this all the time, but what is your view on fitness? I know you said you love lifting weights, and I feel like we're biased because I'm also on your side. Like I think lifting weights as a female, it not only looks good, but I think it changes your metabolism and how your body, like you can fight osteoporosis. Like it completely changes your body composition.
Yes.
So I would love to hear from you. Talk about like nutrition and workout wise. Like what is your favorite preferred, because we're going to go into the business ventures that you have, but your like prescription for working out that even your community follows.
Yeah.
That really helps.
I love weights. Like, as you just said, bodybuilding was kind of like the core of my journey. I was training like a bodybuilder from the beginning because I learned.
That was how I started.
Right? And I feel like when I started, bikini competitions were huge.
That was just like me. That's why I started competing at
17.
Yes,
you told me that.
And it built the foundation for everything.
Totally. And I felt like it was an interesting time for fitness because I feel like it was at the peak. Like everyone was doing these competitions and like meal prep.
Now I feel everyone does home workouts, body weight, Pilates.
Right.
Well, at least in the bubble that we are in.
Yes. There's always trends with fitness. But I'm really glad that I started with weightlifting because it changed my body composition 100%. Like,
and your metabolism.
Totally, everything. And I think it's great for you as you age. And it's very functional. Like you really feel your strength changing in your everyday life. And that's great. And it's very empowering, like as a workout. And if you're going through mental struggles, it's very like therapeutic, I think, because it's like mindful. You're having to kind of, there's a lot of like mind muscle connection and you're breathing and you're slowing down. I find it very therapeutic. And I still weightlift, but I now incorporate a little bit more HIIT. So it's kind of more athletic training, like burpees, supersetted with an upright row, like keeping my heart rate up. I really enjoy. In terms of nutrition, I'm a huge fan of healthy fats for my brain. Huge, like salmon, olive oil, avocado. I'm trying to have more variety in my diet right now for gut health. I'm not the best with vegetables, so I'm throwing in like beets and carrots and beans when I can. I'm always trying to learn more. I never want to be like, I'm done, I know everything, because I feel like I'm still learning more about nutrition every day. But that's kind of like where I'm at right now.
I love that. And what would you prescribe to someone listening to who maybe they are going to now go look at your YouTube channel and become obsessed with everything you're sharing? What would you prescribe to someone listening? Like if you would just like give them a fitness and health protocol?
Have a plan. I think when you start with fitness, going to the gym with no plan is like a little intimidating.
Maybe like a weight training split.
Exactly.
Today we're going to do back and buys.
Yes. And so my first product ever was my weight training plan.
Oh, yes.
And now I have the Slay app, and that's how we split it by muscle group. So like, let's say shoulders and back one day, arms and chest one day.
And all like with weights. I love
Exactly. I try to do core exercises every day as well. I've seen a big difference through that. Just like supersetting a couple exercises with abs. Making a meal plan for the week so you're not like wondering every day, like, oh, what am I going to make today? Which can be fun. Like, I like that creativity.
Yeah.
But if I have a loose idea of my menu every week, that's really helpful. We have a ton of healthy recipes in the Slay app, and I generally go to that. Like I had spring rolls last night. Like I really try to make it fun and, make healthy versions of recipes that I really enjoy.
I love that. And we'll have it linked, but your YouTube channel has so many good recipes.
Yes.
And you're always trying new things too.
Always trying new things.
I love that. One quick question before we dive into the business.
Yeah.
But how do you approach having a balanced lifestyle? Because I feel like you would really relate to this as well. Like personally for me, coming from such a regimented background with like weight training and macros.
Yeah.
For me, it's been the opposite of a lot of people. Like I have a hard time having balance.
I know.
And I even think girls listening, or even guys, like we can get super obsessed with fitness.
I know.
And I know I did when I started seeing results.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I cannot hinder these results. I have to be more restrictive and more on my everything.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your mindset and approach to balance.
I can relate to that 100% because on my weight loss journey,
especially you lost so much weight.
Yes, I lost 90 pounds. So coming out of that journey, I was like, I don't want to slip backwards.
90 pounds.
Yeah.
Also, can I just also preface like the other side? Like you also have a social media following. And I feel like it's such a positive thing, but you're also getting validated by how
exactly
you look, and like, oh my God, you look amazing.
Exactly.
And you must also feel that pressure, like, I cannot never not look like this.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie that is an issue for me. And I talk about it in therapy a lot. And I want to be candid about that because, I don't know, I think it's important. Like, I do struggle with that. It's kind of like my whole business was built on my weight loss journey. So I do feel that pressure, but also internally, I never want to be that version of myself again because before my fitness journey, I wasn't proud of who I was. So it's scary for me, and I kind of associate the two things. What helps me is one, therapy. I think therapy is so important. And the topics we talk about in therapy, like mindfulness and presence, is so important. So like, let's say I'm on a vacation. I was in Hawaii just a couple days ago and I want to try new fun food. I don't want to limit myself because I'm terrified of slipping backwards. So just reminding myself like having fun and making memories is just as important as results. And you can get back on your routine as soon as you get home. Like it's completely in your control. And how far you want to take that routine is up to you. So yeah, I try to keep that in mind, but the balance is always a struggle. As of right now, I try to eat clean most of the time, but like I plan meals and have little yummy snacks here and there to keep myself like satisfied and having fun and trying new things. But yeah.
I love that. I think that is so important. And also with the stress as well. Like, do you ever find that when you are away, like you go to Italy and you eat all the carbs, you come back and you did not gain the weight that you think? You may even look better.
Yes.
And because of the stress associated. And we could do like a whole podcast on that because I think there's so much that goes into the hormones and the stress levels which is everything, especially being a female. I know female bodies are really responsive to that.
100%.
But well, I have to link all your YouTube and everything, but going into the businesses. Okay, so you don't only have Slay app, but you have Bloom Nutrition. So I would love to hear like the journey into those. You kind of were diving into it a little bit about how Slay app formed.
Yeah.
But both of them, because Slay and Bloom started as well.
Yes. So, okay, I finished, well, I would never say finished my fitness journey, but I came to an end of my weight loss journey around November 2017. I didn't really have any muscle yet, but I had lost like a significant amount of weight. And I had this side-by-side photo of myself. And I should say I was not using social media during my journey. I was like on a solo mission. I wasn't an avid social media user at the time. And I was very private on my journey. It was just kind of like I was so focused and I wasn't hanging out with the same people anymore, like my drinking friends, because I was on a new
and you weren't into
path.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I showed Greg this side by side. Greg was my boyfriend. And he was like, oh my gosh, you have to post that. Like, you know, no one even knows that you lost this weight. Like, it's a great photo. So I put it on my social media and I was so nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, like my 900 followers, like what are they going to think? And the photo blew up. I think because it was a little bit of like the right time, but also people could relate to me. 2017 was a huge time for fitness. And I put this side by side up and a ton of bigger fitness pages were reposting it. I was getting tons of DMs, tons of comments. And this was like a new thing for me. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Yeah. And Greg is super entrepreneurial. So he saw all these people requesting my workout plan and my nutrition guide. And he was like, you know, I think we could do something with this. And it was my passion. I was, you know, obsessed with fitness at this point. Greg's passion as well. So we really just threw ourselves into it. We made a super scrappy PDF guide of my workout plan, every single workout I was doing on my journey, along with my nutrition guide. Sold it for $5. We would actually manually email it to people and they would PayPal us $5. So we were on our phones all day doing that. Eventually we figured out how to make a website, so that helped a lot. But wow. That's how we got started. And originally it was called Mari Fitness. And now it has become the Slay app.
That is insane. And also like such a power couple and a power move to be like, babe, we're going to monetize this. We're going to scale it up. And how did that process even begin with the app? And like, yeah. I guess the demand was just super high and then...
Yeah, the demand was high, but also we kept making these PDF guides and it got to a point where I was like, this is no longer user-friendly. Like, everyone's on their phones. Like, they want to be able to watch videos and follow along in an easier way. So the app was kind of inevitable, but what I will say is apps take forever. Like it took 3 years to get the Slay app up and running and it's very expensive. So Slay app came after Bloom actually, because we were we were still building the app when we released Bloom. Yeah.
And then a little bit of context on Bloom. What is Bloom? And then I have nitty gritty questions too with both of them.
Bloom is like our baby now. Like Bloom is, our main focus, I would say. Obviously, I love Slay and the workout plans are great, but Bloom is just kind of a more demanding business and it's blown up more than we expected it to. So on my fitness journey, as we talked about, it was a crazy time for bodybuilding and I personally had a really hard time finding supplements that I felt comfortable taking as a female beginner to fitness. All the products were really like marketed to men and very intense and like full of caffeine and like red and black labels and like neon. And I was like, oh my gosh. C4, exactly. So I would bring this stuff home and Greg would be like, no, you're not taking that. Like I have horrible anxiety. Like I should not be taking C4.
It's so concentrated as well.
It's insane and itchy and jittery. And so I was like, you know, I want a product that I can take as a female beginner to fitness and like get a little help with my journey and feel like I'm taking a supplement that tastes good but isn't full of crap. So all of 2018, and Greg, by the way, this is a funny example, but all through school, like high school, he would do like fake businesses as school projects, and they were always supplement companies because he's obsessed with supplements. So it was kind of like meant to be.
And you had the community there just waiting for something like this.
They were begging for supplements. So we were sampling pre-workouts all of 2018, and we launched with 3 pre-workout flavors in 2019, January. It was literally just me and Greg. Like we just made it happen. Like we were designing labels ourselves. We were working.
Just figured it out.
I
love that because a lot of people listening, myself included, like sometimes we have these big goals, big visions, and we have all these ideas that you may even say to a friend, a partner, and you're like, I want to do this, but then you don't take action because the how deteriorates you and you don't know the how. But I always say, like, you don't have to always know the how because you'll figure it out along the way. You just have to know the what. So like, what was your mindset around that? Like, did you ever be like, shit, we're building a big app with millions of users, we're building a nutrition company? Because I'm sure, like, with everything you and Greg have like created, I'm sure you guys didn't ever have like a limiting belief around it because you wouldn't have started and scaled both.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about me and Greg is we're super different, but both of us are very, we're big risk takers. Like we're not afraid of taking a chance, and all of our businesses are self-funded. We never took a loan. So it was all of our money in this, which is scary. Like we were definitely scared, but because we were scared, we were like, this cannot fail. Like, you know what I mean? Like we put our backs up against the wall, and we still have that approach to business, to be honest. And we just had to make it work. And also I feel like you can't wait for things to be perfect. There will never be a perfect time. There'll never be, it will never be perfect in your eyes, and you just have to do it. So now when I look back on the products we launched, I'm like, oh God, that label is like.
But it improves so much along the way.
Exactly. Like you end up hiring people who are more talented than you to do the things you shouldn't be doing. Like we were doing our own customer service. It was brutal. Like all day, every day. And when it's your own company, you're like defending your life with these customer services. It was really funny, but we learned so much about business because we've essentially done all the jobs that our team now has. So we really understand it on a different level. And even sometimes I look back and I'm like, what were we thinking? But
and now how big is the team now?
We have, so in our office in Santa Monica, we have about 15 people max. And then remotely, I would say 20, 25.
Wow. And it's just growing so much with everything.
Yeah, we're hiring a lot right now. It's crazy.
Wow. And you guys just launched a matcha brand?
Yes, I just launched a matcha. I've always wanted to make a matcha.
Yeah.
I'm a big matcha gal. So we launched a ceremonial grade certified organic matcha from Japan. I'm really, really proud of it.
We love matcha on Coffee and a Good Vibe. We do.
You do?
We love matcha. Nekohama's a really good brand. We love matcha.
I figured it was a lot of coffee people, but
but we love matcha. Matcha slaps.
We don't discriminate. We like matcha too. No, I love matcha. For me, it's great because it's like, I still drink coffee sometimes. I shouldn't because it gives me horrible anxiety. But, I'm more of a matcha gal, and the matcha just sold out actually, but it'll be back next week.
See, this is crazy because this is like such a perfect segue into what I want to talk about, and that's your community.
Yeah.
Like, you have built such an incredible brand.
Thank you.
And when a brand is successful, when they can convert because their community wants to buy anything they put out there.
Yeah.
And anyone listening, like a founder of a company who has a brand that they're building, that community, or an influencer, there's so many influencers and personal brands listening. And I think it's so much, I know your numbers are totally there because you have such a large following, but even like now what I always tell people, it's all about the quality of your community.
Yeah.
Like if you have 5,000 people following you, like if you have a community, like people who actually care about what you're saying, that's powerful.
Yes.
So I would love to hear from the queen herself. What are your top tips for building community now? Like what do you do to really nurture? Because you do such a good job with it.
Thank you. So from the beginning of my page, I treated my Instagram as a diary. Like if anything, I was oversharing, and I feel like I still do that because I don't know, I felt like I had this hack to happiness. Like after going through my journey, I was like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I feel like I have this secret and I want to tell everyone about it. So when I was talking to my community, I was really talking to them as if they were like my girlfriends. Like, hey guys, I found this like crazy thing and you should really try it. And watching them succeed was and still is the most fulfilling part of my job. Like when I get to meet someone in person and they say, hey, like you helped me find my true potential, nothing makes me happier. So every day when I'm literally even just posting on my story, I have that in my head. And I also remember when I was a fan, like when I was on my fitness journey, I was a huge fan of so many of these fitness influencers, and I wanted to see everything. I wanted to see their breakfast. I wanted to see their meditation routine. I wanted to see like what time they went to bed. So sometimes I feel like, oh, they don't want to see my breakfast. They don't care what time I go to bed, but they do. So I try to keep that in my mind, and I never want to position myself as an expert. I'm just someone who is also on a fitness journey and has experienced it before. So yeah, I would say overshare. Treat your Instagram as a diary, treat your TikTok as a diary, like,
I love that so much because it's so much transparency. And I just think it's such a beautiful way to approach it because you're just being yourself and it's so genuine and people love that. And also, I think humans are incredible where you look at what content people love.
Yeah.
And that's why I think What I Eat in a Day and like Day in My Life do so well on YouTube because people are just intrigued by the simplest of things.
Yes, they want to see like What I Eat in a Days are one of my favorite pieces of content.
I look at myself sometimes when we're as a creator, you're like, what do I create? But then you sometimes look at your own behavior.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do I gravitate on YouTube? I gravitate towards What I Eat in a Day.
Yes.
Day in My Life for this type of person that I like want to look at,
Exactly.
It's just like sometimes you can look at yourself and you can just observe like
right.
You don't have that community.
Right. And sometimes it's like the most simple things sometimes, like a hair, like things I don't even think that they want to see. And they do. Actually, my assistant Fee, she was a follower of mine before I hired her. So I'll go to her I'm like, well, what would you want to see from me that I haven't done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's helpful.
Let's just do a little bit on Fee. Like, shout out to Fee.
Shout out to Fee.
How did you, because this kind of is really insightful for someone listening who may be like looking to scale a team or just like one person on the team.
Yeah.
And I love that approach because personally, like I do that. I find people to hire through the community.
Yeah.
They already know you. So how did you find Fee? What does she do with you?
Okay.
What's her role?
Fee is a superstar in her own right. So Fee was a follower of mine. She uses the Slay app. She uses Bloom. And it was like kind of meant to be because she's told me now that when I moved to LA, she was like, oh, I want to work for Mari. I'm going to make it happen.
Wow.
So when Bloom was working out of a WeWork inside of a building that Fee's office was in. So Fee was working as an admin at a financial firm.
Such a difference.
To
what she does now.
She didn't love her job. I'm not going to obviously say where, but she didn't love it. And I think she saw that I was in the building she was in, and she sent me a DM on Instagram. And I recognized her name because she's tagged Slay so many times doing the workouts. And I was like, oh, it's Fitness Fee. Like that was her account.
Oh.
And I opened the message and it's her and her little Bloom mask. And she was like, I'm in the same building as you. Like I would love to like show you around.
So nice. Shoot your shot, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, can I send you my resume? I really feel like I could help you out. And she had experience as a personal assistant with a celebrity. And I was so intimidated to have a personal assistant, even though I desperately needed one, because I was like, how am I going to be telling someone to do all day, what to do all day?
And you're like, I don't need that because I know for myself, I'm like, I could just do it. It's just faster if I do it.
Exactly.
But that's not how you scale. A lot of mentors of mine are like, no, you need to duplicate yourself. You can do more.
Right, because I was doing things instead of doing the things that will move forward.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I was so nervous because I was like, I don't think I'm going to be good at telling someone what to do. It's different in a Bloom setting because that's like, it's interesting because we have these two companies and two different teams, Bloom and Slay, but I have a brand separate from that on my own.
But then yet that brand is like the driver of the whole machine almost.
Exactly. So I kind of have this like other job that I need to do and I need help with, but I'm on my own all day. Like it got a little bit lonely for me making my own content all day. And I, feeling like, the Bloom team's here, the Slay team's there. And obviously I still go every week to the office and collab with the team, but I also have my own brand to worry about. And Fee has really helped me make that a priority.
Yeah, I would love to go into the nitty gritty of that, because I think that a lot of influencers listening, or just people, it would be insightful to hear, like, how do you guys approach your content from a personal brand? I'm asking because I know you have systems too. Like, do you have, okay, on Mondays we're doing TikTok, on Tuesdays we're doing YouTube? Because I think a really powerful thing that's so helpful is that I think it's so important for every influencer, if your goal is to keep scaling, to be on every platform. Like, if you started on Instagram, but you're on YouTube and you're on TikTok, like you're on it all. So how do you and Fee essentially like do your content and your scheduling and innovate the wheel too with content, like create what content, because your business, and then you have to switch to creator. Yeah,
exactly. Being on all of those platforms is so overwhelming for influencers. Like I'm sure you can relate, but any other influencer I speak to, they're like, how do we stay on top of all this? Because it's just like getting insane. And I think you have to have a system. You have to treat your content like a business, you just have to. So I do have a set day I upload on YouTube every Monday. So I know I need to have the content in the week prior. So I have that in my head. At the beginning of each week, we plug in every single piece of content I want to create. So let's say I'm doing a brand collab that needs to get done on this day. We need to get it approved by this day. I live by my calendar. So everything's in the calendar.
Google Cal?
Yeah. Google Cal. But I like to also physically write things in this like day planner that I have. So I have it in front of my face.
We're the same human. I do the same thing.
It's a lot. I need a lot of visuals. Every reel I'm making, we're making sure we get the ingredients for a recipe on time. If I'm filming a what I eat in a day, I'm starting to film at like 7 a.m. So I need to have everything set up. So yeah. And TikTok for me is a daily thing. I'm doing like 3 a day right now.
Wow.
It took me a while to get in the flow, because 3 a day sounds so intimidating. And I used to be like, what am I going to make? But I've kind of taken the same approach that I have with Instagram stories and how I quickly just like snap something. I do that on TikTok now.
I think that's such a healthy relationship too, because I think there's less attachment to it.
Exactly.
Because personally for me, like I've been noticing like, wow, I'll stop wanting to post because I'm just like, it's not good enough.
Exactly.
But it's like that same principle. It's like sometimes you just gotta take action and post, because it'll just keep continuing to get better. And on that note too, like how do you really truly stay in your lane, especially with the fitness scene? I know you started at a time where it was actually growing a lot at that time, but it wasn't as and I'm not saying saturation is a bad thing, I'm just using that word, but like it is very saturated now. So how do you stay super laser focused and be like, I have an app and I believe in my app. There's 100 other influencers like I see on the platform. There's so many, right?
I know.
Doing apps and having the same business model, but how do you stay so in your lane?
Yeah, it's difficult. Like I won't lie, comparison is a really challenging area in this industry, because we're all out here just trying to make it, and a lot of us are doing similar things, so it's difficult. But it's like conversations like this that I actually remember why I started, and I just try to always remind myself, why am I actually here? And I think I'm a motivator for my community, and sometimes I've gone down the path of feeling like that means I need to be perfect, and I don't. Like the entire reason I have a page is because I shared challenges and
diary.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they want to listen to me because I'm sharing mistakes, vulnerabilities, challenges, and I think the bigger my page has gotten, the more guarded I have felt, because there's so much feedback. Like sometimes it's like, I'm not even going to share that because I don't want to see all those opinions. But at the end of the day, like that's why I'm here, and that's what I feel like my purpose is. So sometimes I have to remind myself, but that's what I feel like my page is about.
I love that because I truly believe that when we are like, no, I'm going to sound so cheesy, but like no one is you and that is your power, and no one has been through the exact same experiences as you. No one has been through that exact same timeline, and everyone has. I think it's also like reinforcing those beliefs and knowing the value that you have and how much of a blessing you are to the world. And I definitely want to tap into routines and all of that because I know you have a bunch. But one other thing I think that would be so important to even ask is, how do you like when you have such a large community, right? Like millions of people looking at what you're doing, how do you tune out negativity? And even that, like even on a personal sense, like I just released an episode on boundaries, and even not even negativity from online, but like sometimes just in your circle or like in your day you cross paths with people who are just not in their truth and alignment, but then they put that onto you.
Yeah.
So how do you almost like have this like shield around you and you protect your energy and your space?
Yeah. I definitely went through a time where hate comments would dictate my mood. You know, that was a big...
So normal too. It's like forgive yourself.
You kind of need to go through that, I feel like, to figure it out. Now, they have very little impact on me. I think I've gotten much tougher skin, but also you just can't really look. Like, I feel like if you're too conscious of the feedback, you'll end up making content for your haters, or even for people who are giving you positive reinforcement, when really you should be creating things that resonate with you, because if they resonate with you, they're going to resonate with your audience. So I try not to read too many, but at the same time I really like to keep a pulse on like what the community wants. So it's an interesting balance. But I mean, even today I posted a recipe and I have like ridiculous hate comments on it, but it's just funny.
It's funny.
It's like funny. It's funny, but also through therapy, I've learned like hurt people.
Yeah.
And I can have empathy for the person leaving that comment, because you know they're going through something, right? If they're yeah.